I am continuing in my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am continuing reading in a chronological order, according to event, not according to publication or volume. So I'm skipping around a bit as I move along. We continue reading in the Gospels. Christ has been crucified. He has died and has been buried. The upheavals among the Nephites, we've read all of that. We have also read the women coming to the tomb and finding it empty, and Peter and John racing to the tomb to see and witness for themselves what the women have told them. That is what we read last in John. This time we will be reading in both Mark and John as we continue the appearances of Christ after his resurrection. In this video, we have a Joseph Smith translation. Now, what the Joseph Smith translation is, this is a translation or correction done by Joseph Smith to restore those passages that have been lost or corrupted over the years. So right now, we pick it up in Mark chapter 16, verses 9 through 11. Now when Jesus was risen early the first day of the week, he appeared first to Mary Magdalene, out of whom he had cast 7 devils. And she went and told them that had been with him, as they mourned and wept. And they, when they had heard that he was alive and had been seen of her, believed not. This is a very simple, very short recounting. Mary Magdalene was there. She sees Christ. She comes and tells the people that she saw Christ. They don't believe her. Now, remember, she saw the empty tomb. She saw the angels. She told Peter and John. They came and saw the empty tomb. So this is happening after Peter and John have seen the empty tomb. Then she sees Christ. And she goes again and tells them that she saw Christ. And they don't believe her. They're kind of starting to understand. They're kind of starting to get the idea that Christ is risen. But the idea that he could appear in bodily form and act as, be alive is still not clicking with them. But let us check any Joseph Smith translations for these 3 verses here. Very simple stuff here. In verse 9, it is, Jesus was risen early on the first day. So we add the word on. And then in verse 10, we change that to who. Told them who had been with him. Minor clarifications, minor grammatical clarifications, nothing of any real substance. So now we turn to John chapter 20, verses 11 through 18. But Mary stood without at the sepulchre weeping, and as she wept, she stooped down and looked into the sepulchre, and seeth 2 angels in white sitting, the one at the head and the other at the feet, where the body of Jesus had lain. And they said unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? She saith unto them, Because they have taken away my Lord, and I know not where they have laid him. And when she had thus said, she turned herself back, and saw Jesus standing, and knew not that it was Jesus. Jesus saith unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? Whom seekest thou? She, supposing him to be the gardener, saith unto him, Sir, if thou have borne him hence, tell me where thou hast laid him, and I will take him away. Jesus saith unto her, Mary. She turned herself, and saith unto him, Rabboni, which is to say, Master. Jesus saith unto her, Touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father. But go to my brethren, and say unto them, I ascend unto my Father and your Father, and to my God and your God. Mary Magdalene came and told the disciples that she had seen the Lord, and that he had spoken these things unto her. So after Peter and John leave, Mary stays in the garden, or she returns to the garden. And looking into the sepulchre, she sees the angels again. Remember, in the King James, it doesn't mention them earlier, but in Joseph Smith's translation, we are told that the angels were standing on the stone. They were sitting on the stone when she first came. Apparently they weren't there when Peter and John came, but when Mary returns and looks into the sepulchre, they are inside. And why weepest thou? As well, they've stolen his body. Still, she's not understanding the resurrection. And she comes out of the sepulchre. She sees Christ. I don't think she looked directly at him. I think she sees somebody there kind of in the peripheral, just kind of glancing. Thinks it's the gardener, and we have this exchange. And this is a beautiful exchange. She just saying, look, tell me where the body is, and I will bury him somewhere else. But when he says her name, she recognizes him. Can you imagine the tenderness in Christ's voice when he called her by name? Now note also, he says, touch me not, for I have not yet ascended to my Father. In other words, Christ has the power to resurrect himself. So He laid in the tomb for the 3 days. He raises himself from the dead. The angels proclaim it. But before he rises up into heaven, before he goes up to see the Father, he came to comfort Mary Magdalene. That is something special. She is the first person to see the resurrected Christ. But this is before he is supposed to be showing him. So that's why he says, don't touch me. Every other time he appears, he says, come, feel the palms of my hands, feel my side, see that it is me. But with Mary, he says, don't touch me, because he has not yet completed everything he has to do. He made a detour to comfort Mary. And this tells us that Mary and Jesus had an extremely close relationship. This is why many early leaders in the church held the opinion that Mary Magdalene and Jesus Christ were married, because of this exchange here. Why would Christ appear to Mary and not to anybody else? He doesn't appear to his mother. He appears to Mary Magdalene, and he does it before he has finished his work, because he wants to comfort her. Now, there is a small Joseph Smith translation here, and this is in verse 17, where it says, touch me not. Joseph Smith corrects this to hold me not. And this tells us that when Mary recognized Christ, she didn't just want to reach out, touch his feet, and worship him as she had done in the past. She went to embrace him. And he said, you can't do that right now. Again, lending support to the opinion that they were married. Christ was coming to his wife to comfort her. And when she saw him in joy, she stepped to embrace him as any wife would when she sees her husband, especially after thinking he was dead. And he has to tell her, you can't do that, because I have not yet finished the work. And then he sends her off to tell the apostles. Again, tell them you've seen me. Not just that the tomb is empty, but you've seen me. And that I will be coming. You will see me. When I get there, you will see me in Galilee. Wait for me there. It is a beautiful exchange, a beautiful encounter. Now, whether you agree with the opinion that Jesus and Mary Magdalene were married is really irrelevant. The beauty and the tenderness of this scene should touch all our hearts. I'm going to leave it there, and we will be continuing in these sightings of Christ after his resurrection. Although next we'll be reading in Matthew about some other things going on at this time. So I will see you there.